It's time for the Unofficial 40. Soonerscoop.com's very official recruiting podcast featuring Soonerscoop.com recruiting publisher Josh McCuistion. Get your recruiting fix from the leader in Sooner recruiting. It's the Unofficial 40 with your hosts, Soonerscoop.com publishers Carey Murdoch and Josh McCuistion.
Ooh, dressing. Grandma's dressing. You gotta have it. It's good. It's good. And her banana pudding. Don't tell our nutritionist.
Matter of fact, I love cornbread, by the way. I love cornbread. You don't get that back home, so when I got an opportunity to eat that out here, I eat that stuff up, man. Like, I love me some cornbread, obviously.
Probably my grandmother's recipe for mashed potatoes. It's like a heart attack waiting to happen, man. It tastes good, though. It tastes pretty good, though.
Get some lard in there.
Oh, man. Everything bad you can put in there, it's in there. That's why it's good.
Oh, no. I'm going to be with my children and my family, and so this is my chance to get away from football and, you know, just actually focus on my family and my children.
What's the one thing you got to have on the table for Thanksgiving?
Ham.
Really?
I love ham. And the Jiffy cornbread with a lot of sugar. A lot of sugar.
Well, my aunt makes the turkey, so I know I'll be happy with that. I like the mashed potatoes, the green beans with I don't know what they put on top, but that's good. And I think that's probably my favorite, the green beans, so that's a must-have for me.
Stuffing. I'm a stuffing guy.
Yeah.
I like stuffing. You can tell. All right. Not a pumpkin pie or
Really? No pie at all, huh?
No. Any other meaningful questions?
No.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It is our Thanksgiving edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast, and you heard there from all kinds of players and coaches. I think Baker Mayfield. Neville Gallimore was the guy that was all excited about cornbread, other than Dede Westbrook and his Jiffy cornbread, which I had to look that up this morning. It's an actual brand, like Jiffy brand, Jiffy cornmeal. So I guess he only likes Jiffy cornmeal cornbread. That was also Caleb Kelly that was in there, Lincoln Riley, Mike Stoops. So welcome, everybody. It's another edition of the Unofficial 40, joined by, I don't know why Eddie seems to be the Grinch today. He's not talking very much. Did I make you sick?
No, I'm just tired.
That's valid.
But
It just seems like you're mad.
I got a lot of shit to do.
I was going to ask, can we not cuss on the Thanksgiving podcast? But that's okay. Is it family stuff?
Huh? No, I just got a lot of stuff to do in between now and my best friend's getting married this weekend, so I got a bunch of stuff to do.
That's right. So when do you have to leave for that? Is that
It's just in Oklahoma City, so
it is?
Yeah. I got to go get the tux today though, and
that sucks.
do all that kind of stuff. So
You had to go up to Oklahoma City to get that?
yeah.
Have they been yelling at you because you should have been fitted by now?
Oh no, I've already done all that. I just got to go pick it up.
Oh, okay. Joe Duvall is in the house. He has Thanksgiving with, I don't know, is it stressful? A stressful Thanksgiving when you're married?
It's different. You have to start doing things that you're not used to doing, and you spend your whole life getting comfortable with your Thanksgiving and how you like to do it, and then all of a sudden, you have to split the day and all that kind of things. Although my parents, all of a sudden, now that I split the day with the in-laws, my parents are out of town. They just left the country basically, so now I have to spend the whole day with the in-laws. I think the way they see it, they got all their Thanksgivings in with me, and now they're pawning me off on the in-laws.
He sounds hurt. Josh McCuistion is here. He's going to be taking photos from now until Sunday with the family, most likely. Josh, how you doing today?
I'm good.
Have you taken a Thanksgiving photo already today?
No. Tiffany is at work. Lainey is at school. So no photos today. But yes, those are coming. So everybody, get your Facebooks ready because it's happening.
I just got this way yesterday. I thought kind of practice. Like Bob had his press conference. It was kind of the regular week of practice availability. Joe was there last night. They don't do anything this week. It's a bye week, and then you have OSU and Bedlam all next week. I just felt like people were way too serious. Like it was just like, dude. You can ask about James Washington next week because we're going to ask about James Washington next week.
I think they're just trying to be locked in so they don't get their ass kicked in 2 weeks.
No, I mean the media.
Oh.
I was like, why is it all of a sudden the media is against having any fun? Because I feel like such a jackass because I'm always the one doing jackass things. And I try and be serious when I go to practice because I do the morning show where I'm a jackass all the time, so people expect that out of me.
Is that bleeding through from the fans? The fans taking things really seriously, and the media feels, all right, every time we try to make something light, then fans take it seriously right now?
Dude, they've won 8 games in a row. If you can't be a little bit lighthearted at some point, this was the week to do it.
I mean,
Eddie has no opinion.
Congratulations that they beat a bunch of just awful teams.
You got to have some fun at this job, Eddie. You got to enjoy yourself.
I am enjoying myself, and I'll enjoy myself in 2 Saturdays.
Okay. When it's over?
No, for Bedlam.
Oh, okay.
Although I don't think it's going to end how Oklahoma fans want it to end.
This podcast is starting off horribly.
Eddie sounds like he's headed to a funeral. Like, this is bad. This is the worst Eddie I've ever heard.
Did you sleep last night, Eddie?
Yeah.
How many hours? How many hours do you sleep in most nights?
Like 6.
Wow, you get a lot of sleep. Just tuxedos and weddings and Thanksgiving? Is your sister's coming into town?
I assume so.
Is there a lot of pressure?
No. I don't think so.
Do you have to, make the turkey or something?
No. I don't have to do any of that.
Just go to mom's?
Just show up. No, aunt and uncles.
See, that's the single life. Eddie's like, I think my sister's coming in. I suppose she's coming in. Like, when you're married, you get the stock report from the wife. Like, you know who's going to be there a week ahead of time.
Okay, so we're not going to have any fun today. We're just gonna go hardcore information, and we're gonna start out talking about last weekend, West Virginia. Eddie and I almost died. Maybe he's mad at me for that. I don't know.
It was close.
Oh yeah,
but the thing about the all the talk kind of coming out yesterday was when Bob Stoops had his press conference and said that he said this. I'm just going to play it for you. I'm sorry, Josh, you can't hear this, but here's what Bob said. Or didn't say. That's amazing. Now we can't even hear the audio.
And Josh, you could have just left it there and Josh would have had no idea.
Wow, I've totally screwed up everything. That's interesting. I just played audio 2 seconds ago.
We could have pretended like Bob Stoops named Austin Kendall the starter, pulled a little prank on Josh.
Okay, I figured it out. Here we go. Here's what Bob Stoops said about the altercation at midfield before the West Virginia game.
You know what? That totally caught me by surprise. I was mad at myself. My back was to them because I had already seen them leave the field. So I figured, hey, we're no problem here. We're going to punt the ball and meet at the 40, where we always do. We don't go to anybody's logo, have it in 18 years. And all of a sudden, I turn around and everybody's at midfield. So they were sitting there, must have been waiting on us in the end zone and came charging at us when we do our normal punt the ball and meet at the 40-yard line and then exit the field.
Did Dana say or anything to you about how that? Did they think you were on their logo or something?
No, they were probably just making sure they weren't going to be intimidated by anything. And I didn't meeting at midfield and getting a break normally isn't too intimidating for anybody, but that's what they thought, I guess.
And so he said that, and then shortly after his press conference, somebody had tweeted out a GIF or a GIF, however you want to call it, showing the Oklahoma players dancing right at the 50-yard line, right on top of the West Virginia logo. And I'll admit, when he said we always do it on the 40, I was like, yeah, Bob's telling the truth. I watch games all the time. They're always on the 40. That's when they're at home. But I don't know. You guys saw the video. What did you think about it?
I was with you, Carey, when he said that. I was okay. Yeah, I took him for his word. All right, yeah, they do that on the 40. I didn't really think that much of it. And then somebody went back and checked the tape, and you can see they're clearly on the 50-yard line. But I think West Virginia took disrespect to them jumping on the logo, but I also think that was going to happen either way. I think they
were ready. Yeah,
they were
waiting.
They were gonna scuffle no matter what. Things were gonna go down. Baker even said social media kind of played a part in that leading up to it. Zach Sanchez and Tony Gibson, the defensive coordinator, got into it on Instagram, I think, a little bit. So I think that was something they knew.
Was it Tony Gibson or Shelton Gibson?
Or I think it was the defensive coordinator. Literally, Tony Gibson got into, or he might have said something that made Zach Sanchez say something, and then I don't know.
I know Shelton Gibson was involved. I don't know anything about Tony, but I know he got into it with Shelton on Instagram or something.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it was Shelton.
I did see that.
Okay, there you go. Then that was what happened, and I think that's what had them ready to go before the game.
But I was sitting in the press box typing in stuff, getting ready for the instant analysis and all. I was kind of running behind, and I look down and I see out of the corner of my eye a bunch of blue jerseys running towards the middle of the field, and it's snowing. And I thought, oh, my God, they're going to fight. And then they met in the middle. I don't know. Eddie, you were right in the middle of it. Were you, out there?
Yeah, I was standing on the 50-yard line.
Just doing pregame videos?
Well, I was standing at about the 10, and then I had to run out there. But it was...
did you see it developing?
Yeah.
Did you notice, West Virginia, the
West
team
Virginia
was just
team
standing there waiting?
No, they were all the way in the end zone. And they
they were
running
going
back
into
out.
their locker room, right?
Yeah, and they came running back out. But, OU's just the definition of a bully. They beat up teams that can't beat them up, and then when they play teams that can, they fold over.
I like it.
That's a fact. They got beat up by Ohio State. When they played two really, really physical teams this year, they've gotten beat up.
I don't think Eddie's wrong that OU does kind of puff their chest out more in the Big 12 than when they go play Clemson or if they have to play Ohio State in the preseason. It's been
2 years since somebody's beat them in Big 12 play. I mean, they definitely are cocky. They're instigators.
Just beating up on a bunch of teams that can't compete with them.
But I mean, the whole thing that was, well, let me play this for you, because Geno Lewis was asked about, are you?
I think he's regretting his decision.
Are you instigators?
Were you guys the instigator on Saturday?
I'm not really going to say we were the instigator, but, we did what we had to do at the end of the day. Whoever was the instigator, whoever started it, however it started. It's sports. It's fun. That's the type of stuff, that's the type of games you want to play in. You love those type of things. You want to see that because everybody's competitive. Everybody wants to win. So, I know I enjoy it, especially being a senior. This being my last couple of games, I'm all for that stuff.
So, okay, back to Angry Eddie's comment there. You think Penn State's better than Oklahoma?
They have a better shot at playing for a national title than OU does.
They lost 49-10 to Michigan. 49-10.
And they beat Ohio State.
They did. At home. Every once in a while, a team plays like crap and gets upset. That's pretty good.
I just think it's funny that Penn State probably has a better shot of playing for a national title than Oklahoma does.
They do. They got to beat Michigan State this weekend. They got to win the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
Their path is set. All they have to do is win out, and they're in.
It's amazing.
I don't think they're a very good team.
I agree. I'd take OU on a neutral field, but I think you're right that, I don't think there's any question. Their future is much more locked in than Oklahoma's.
They've won one game. It's not like the Big 12 is murderer's row, but what Oklahoma's done I don't know if you have Baylor in there. You can throw Baylor, Kansas State in a blender. They're probably about the same difficulty of beating. And then
they're more physical.
West Virginia, and if they beat Oklahoma State, they will have done more to this point at the regular season than I think they will get. They'll play Wisconsin if they make it through.
Mm-hmm.
I think Wisconsin will beat them in the Big Ten championship.
I would agree with that, yeah.
I don't think there's any way Penn State's getting to the college football play. I don't think there's any way.
I think it'd be funny if they did.
It might be funny, but I don't think they will. I don't think they're good enough.
They might.
I think there's one really good team in college football, and there's 10 that are pick 'em.
Yeah, to Josh's point that he's been kind of making for the past week, do you even really want to get into the college football playoff?
Oh, God.
Not as the number 4. You don't
That's
want to do
insane.
It.
That is ridiculous. No, you're being ridiculous. This is just like when I said all the OU fans are like, oh, we don't want to play Bama in the Fiesta Bowl. We're just going to get embarrassed. And I said, no, you want that opportunity to beat Alabama. If the opportunity is there, you want it. Same thing here. If you get the opportunity to beat Alabama, it is what you would gain from beating them is so much more than what you would lose from losing them.
It would be a better situation for OU to get beat by literally 1,000 points in the playoff than it would to win the Sugar Bowl by 50.
To beat Auburn or
that's insane.
Florida or Tennessee.
How often do we have to hear these guys like, we had to bounce back after the way that season ended in our spring ball, we had to get our minds back right. You get to go into it with a huge win over a good opponent instead of getting clowned again on national television. Like, if this was one game, I get it. But this is becoming a storyline of Oklahoma football. Every time they step up to the big boy table, they get slapped around. Do you need that to happen again? And a part of it, too, is Oklahoma's recruiting and young talent is better than the talent that has been there and that is currently on campus.
And guess what?
They are going to get better.
Though, Josh? They helped solidify getting Joe Mixon by beating Alabama that year. They've got a guy on their team right now that is better athletically than anyone else in this conference other than, I don't know, James Washington maybe.
Mixon made his choice literally the day, like 2 days after that Alabama game.
Yeah, but if they had
he made his choice based on the Alabama game,
I'm just saying he didn't. But they won that game, and it certainly helped stave off anything UCLA was trying to do.
Sure, but again, that's people this is the same argument I get into every time I bring this up. Well, yeah, you didn't give them a chance against Alabama last time. It's two totally different circumstances. They couldn't be more polar opposite. That Oklahoma team was reasonably complete. This is a half of a really good football team and one that just gave up 300-plus yards rushing to West Virginia.
Look, do I think that they can beat Alabama? No, I don't. I don't think anybody can beat Alabama.
Of Alabama.
I would say if they got out of a game with Alabama where they lost by 14, you can live with that. If you made the college football playoff. I
think you're right, but I don't think that would happen.
Do you think they're going to be like 50-7?
I think you could.
What
very
Michigan
well
State
see
lose?
State again.
Michigan State lost 38-0 in that game last year.
I think that's right. Yeah, and that's really because Alabama called off the dogs on them because it was done at half.
I guess the question is, all right, if you truly believe the split is if you make the college football playoff, you are going to get blown out by Alabama, and if you make the Sugar Bowl, you're going to have a big win versus Auburn or Florida or whoever. Now, I get Carey's point though that you can't just take all that for granted. You can't just assume all that's going to happen.
I'm just measuring probabilities. What is most likely to happen?
And to be honest, Josh, my inclination has always been to go with you. Even before you made that point, I was telling people privately, I'm not sure OU wants to be number 4 if Alabama's number 1 because
so soft.
Nobody does. I mean,
soft.
If you lose,
but that's the toughest game. But if you win that game, then you have all the confidence in the world. Look. Nobody's going to know OU fans are going to go to that game. I mean, the Sugar Bowl wasn't full. There were a lot of empty seats in that game, Eddie. I mean, nobody thought that, Alabama fans, there were, I would say it was pretty equal. I mean, Alabama fans just thought they would win because it was Alabama. Oklahoma fans, a lot of them didn't go because they didn't want to get their heads kicked in.
Yeah.
And I had this argument over and over about it feels like it's better to have loved than lost, to have never loved at all. I mean,
romantic Carey.
I mean, it's one of those things like, yeah, I mean, if you get that opportunity, you take that opportunity. And for OU to be able to say, we have made the playoffs 2 out of 3 years that they've had them, that's a nice little feather in your cap.
It also it's half a sentence. What happened when you got there, Coach? Oh, we got embarrassed twice.
Well, they were winning at halftime last year. I mean, they got their butts beat in the second half, but it wasn't like they were just run off the field like against USC.
That's true. But I mean, again, even going back to USC, how many times in a row can Oklahoma just get pummeled when they face an opponent on their level?
Yeah, I mean, as to Josh's point, this narrative isn't just like a few-year narrative. This is a decade-plus long.
If it was just last year, you go for it. Yeah, I get it. But to me, go win the battle when you have a chance to win it. And if Oklahoma's going to get into the 3 seed, Yeah, cool. That's no problem. To go in and face Alabama is the last thing you want.
And either way, Josh isn't. I don't believe Josh is saying. Josh isn't saying that Oklahoma should believe this, that Bob Stoops should believe this, that the team should believe this.
No, not at all.
Well, this is just the prognosticators, us outside of it, kind of talking about what best probability is, because no one actually thinks Oklahoma should think this way. You should think you're going to beat whoever you play. You should want to be in the playoff. We get that.
But you're also acting like kids only choose a school because they won the college football playoff. OU lost a damn commitment because he went to the team where he went. Jalen Reagor was on an official visit at OU TCU. He saw OU beat TCU, and then he switched his commitment. It's not all about winning and losing and margin of victory and all with every kid. I mean, I think a lot of kids just seeing a team go to the college football playoff, winning the Big 12, playing, getting a chance to play on that stage, that says a lot to most kids, I would think.
Again, and I'm arguing the probabilities. If you're going to tell me, if you could say OU's going to stay within 10 or 14 Alabama, I agree with you. Okay, that's a game you can go play. That's fine. And I understand we don't know that. Again, I'm just measuring what I think is most likely to happen. Oklahoma is not going to be able to get into a rhythm offensively because Alabama is just going to bully them up front, and they're going to go on 7-8 minute drives, and then Baker Mayfield's going to have to score. It's like Texas Tech, except instead of facing the children of the blind, you're facing an Alabama defense that has legitimately 7 top 2 round picks in its front 7. Like, you are going to get massacred up front defensively. Oklahoma's good offensively. They're going to score some points, but they're going to have to score every time, and they're not going to be able to get into a rhythm because Alabama's just going to line up I formation and bully them defensively.
Then I don't even know why they should play Bedlam.
Okay.
I mean,
that's sarcastic stuff. That doesn't do anything. That's nothing, Eddie. That doesn't. I'm not talking about anything. Oklahoma State's not on the same planet as Alabama.
Then why should anybody play the playoff? Just cancel the playoff, give the championship to Alabama, and we'll just call this good here by Thanksgiving.
Is it going to be any different with Michigan or with, let's say Michigan wins out? Is it going to be any different with Michigan playing Alabama? I mean, maybe they have a little bit of a shot, but not much more than Michigan State had a year ago. And Clemson has not been
Spade, for sure.
Yeah, and Clemson has not been Clemson like they were last year. Their defense isn't nearly as good as it was a year ago.
Agreed.
Nobody really has I mean, if you're going to look at it that way, yeah, Eddie's right. Why does anybody play this thing?
All 3 of those teams, again, you include Ohio State in the conversation. 2 of the 3 teams you're talking about have already bullied OU up front, and they're not as good as Alabama.
Well, Clemson was a year ago.
You've seen them just bludgeon OU up front, and they're nowhere near Alabama up front. Do I think those teams could give Alabama a better game? Absolutely. I think Ohio State on their best night, they could give Alabama some trouble. They could. Oklahoma, tell me what matchup Oklahoma wins. Where do they beat Alabama?
Josh, I don't think OU is going to beat Oklahoma State next Saturday.
I get it.
I'm just saying, my basis is that I think it's retarded that OU shouldn't want to not play in a playoff game.
I'm not telling you OU shouldn't want to. Joe just said that's never been my point. I get why players, fans, coaches wouldn't agree with me. I'm telling you what I think is best for this program. They're not going to win a national title this year. They're not going to beat Alabama. So what's your best optimal goal?
Play in the playoff.
11-2, win a huge New Year's Six bowl against
it won't be a
opponent.
huge game because any team that they play in that Sugar Bowl is going to be a shit team from the SEC East.
Would you say the difference between those teams and OU is pretty similar to the difference between OU and Alabama?
No.
Really?
Oh, no, that the teams that they're going to play in the Sugar Bowl.
The golf between OU and Tennessee is pretty similar to the golf between OU and Alabama.
Yeah,
it
probably.
Might be even smaller.
Probably. So, I mean, I don't understand that,
OU
though.
needs to go into the Sugar Bowl looking down on a shit team from the SEC East.
They are, though. OU's a shit team.
Oh, God.
They're a shit defense. Can we say that?
They're a shit defense, yeah. And that's the thing, like, Carey, you were talking earlier about, if people can't get positive about it, that's the drag of this whole thing. Oklahoma's offense is one of the best it's ever had. Baker Mayfield may be having the best season of an Oklahoma quarterback ever, which is saying something with Sam Bradford to be considered. But this defense is so horrific, they've ruined an all-time offense.
I'm going to let you guys finish the podcast. I'm just going to go hang out on the Crimson Corner. It's more cheery there.
I was about to say, is this the Thanksgiving week podcast?
My God. I literally was going to say, let's try not to cuss on the Thanksgiving podcast. I've cussed. Eddie's cussed. Josh has cussed.
I'm clean.
Joe, get in there.
F you, Joe.
G-rated. Can I? Oh, I don't know.
I don't even know where we take this podcast now.
I got a good one. This is a question I have. Should there be any concern among Oklahoma fans that their offense, when they get to a bowl game against a more physical defense and a different set of officials, that they'll call pass interference much less? They'll allow defensive backs to be physical. And there's some precedent for this. You watch some of Oklahoma's past bowl games, they get manhandled up front and they don't get as many defensive pass interference calls. So I'm watching the West Virginia game, and Oklahoma gets a few calls that I'm not sure they get in a bowl game. So is there concern about this style of play working in the Big 12 but then not translating out?
Look,
I think my opinion on this is well documented. This is why the spread is a killer. Because once
you guys are acting like Oklahoma runs Texas Tech's offense. They don't. No, they run the ball and they do. They set up play action with Dede West going deep. I mean, this is not the even Kevin Wilson's offense. I mean, they ran the ball. You know, they went to a national championship without DeMarco Murray and had Chris Brown as their running back and had a shit show at receiver. I'm tired of saying, why are we seeing shit so much? I mean, look, Joaquin Iglesias and Manny Johnson, Jermaine Gresham was the only thing that they had that was a legitimate NFL receiver in that game. I mean, they had a young Ryan Broyles. And it's not like they got run off the field in that game. They had and the defense wasn't great that entire year. No one ever accused OU of having a great defense in 2008.
Yeah. Especially after Reynolds went down.
Or they lost Austin Box. I mean, Reynolds, they lost Austin Box, and then they had to go in with Mike Ballaghan as the starter in that game.
And they scored, 14 points when they had scored 60 in 5 straight games?
Yeah.
I mean, in the first play, that was one of the first plays of that game, Major Wright lays into Manny Johnson, which should have been a defensive pass interference call. Wasn't a called, and then it kind of set the tone for the rest of the game for Florida to be overly physical with Oklahoma. It's a lot like what the Seahawks do in their secondary. They're going to manhandle you every time, and they're going to force the officials to call it, and they probably won't. And Dede Westbrook is not a huge physical guy, and if he's been allowed to be given space, and I think there could be some concern in a bowl game. He could be against the Alabama's kind of physical defense.
Look, I'll say this, and I don't know that. There is not an offensive weapon. You have Leonard Fournette, but there's not an offensive weapon in the SEC like Joe Mixon. It might be Hurd for Alabama as a quarterback. He might be the only thing that you could really compare him to. But, I mean, Joe Mixon, he's a guy that not really loosens up defense, but when you can't get things going offensively, he's a guy that can make plays where nobody else can make plays.
No argument here. And
I completely agree.
But to compare him to somebody from that 2008 offense, I mean, Jermaine Gresham's different, obviously, but he's still that kind of versatile big weapon that Florida can't really compare it to. That it couldn't have really been ready for. And he had success in that game, and people would say that they could be critical of Kevin Wilson for not going to Jermaine Gresham enough in that game. So, that's a good point, Carey. I think if you end up in that SEC style of game, I think Joe Mixon might be your number one option on offense rather than somebody like Dede Westbrook.
Look, up front they would get overwhelmed with their defensive pressure, and Baker would have as many problems as he had last year against Clemson. But just to say they shouldn't play that game, I can't buy into that. I can't. I know you're talking about the future and recruiting and what's best and stuff like that. I'm just sorry, you just need to give up football. If you don't want to play another team, you just need to quit football.
Again, people keep trying to make that. I'm not making that argument. I get why OU'd want to play that. I get why fans would prefer that. The fans that are with me, I'm surprised by, frankly. But I'm just talking about what I think leads to better things down the line. I don't see going and yet again getting embarrassed on national television is good for you. Like, I don't see how that's a good thing. I get that that's not what you're going to want. I'm not advocating that OU should try to lose or that OU should feel like they don't have a chance. None of that. They should believe, hey, we belong here. We're going to do this. I get all of that. I'm just saying from outside what I think moves them forward in the best direction. is having a chance to go win a good game against a good opponent rather than trying to line up against Alabama. Now, again, if you could tell me Oklahoma's going to be the 3 and gets to play like Michigan, hey, that's a game OU can win. I believe that. But but against Alabama, I'd almost rather
if they're going to play in a playoff, I'd almost rather them be done losing to Alabama than going to another national championship game and getting their heads kicked in.
Yeah, that's true. There's a point.
But you still want to go to the playoff. Just get your head kicked in that first round.
Which result gets them the higher ranking the next year? Is it losing in the college football playoff in the first round, or is it winning in the Sugar Bowl? Or is there any real difference there? I mean, are you going to be set up for expectations the same way? And all of that's pretty contingent on Baker Mayfield coming back. But I don't think there actually would be that much difference expectation wise going into next year.
All right, there's some other things that we can talk about. I think we're not changing each other's minds on this deal, and I understand what Josh is saying. He's not saying that you turn down the invite and that you take a knee every time you get the ball just so you can limit their possessions, which I think Josh probably thinks would be a good idea, a good game plan.
The water boy tactic.
So, you do have a lot of things going on right now. One of them being that Joe Mixon's attorneys released a statement to the Oklahoman yesterday, which kind of shows you how media savvy his attorneys have been this entire time. Just ridiculous. I'm on record as they've done him the worst disservice possible throughout this entire process by not having some type of apology near the beginning.
People that should be hit in the face are his lawyers.
You want to hit a lawyer in the face, Eddie?
Sure.
Good luck in court.
My roommate's a lawyer.
But see, he doesn't have to pay to defend himself.
No, he'd be defending me.
No, but I'm saying the lawyer that you hit.
Oh.
He can just go to court all day.
They can't take me to court. I mean, just
settle for $25,000.
I don't have $25,000, but some lawyers should be hit in the face.
But it was a terrible orchestrated. And I know, look, I went round and round with lawyers on Twitter about this, but he finally issues the apology. The way I looked, I don't know how you guys look at it, but the way I look at it is that's nice. It should have happened 2 years ago. There's nothing about the apology. The apology is exactly what it should have been. I think the accusations of, racial, taunts or whatever, you could have been fine leaving that. But essentially what happened is 2 of the 3 cases, not charges, that 2 of the 3, 2/3 of the case was thrown out. And I think what probably happened is it went ahead and convinced Molitor's side that they needed to settle, that this wasn't going well, that having this in Oklahoma, finding a jury that was sympathetic to her, all the odds seemed to be stacked against her. And I think they probably came to a settlement. And part of that settlement was, we're going to issue a public apology, and that'll be the end of it. That's my thought.
It would have been nice to hear it from his mouth, though, right? After 2 years? If you have to wait 2 years to issue an apology, and if you're hiding behind legal reasons that you're doing so, when you are able to do it, wouldn't you want to show your emotion, show your remorse?
Yeah, I think so, especially when you've had that traffic thing or the ticket thing lately.
To me, that was a huge mistake because it read like it was from a lawyer. It read like it was from a suit, and I'm not even sure Joe Mixon is connected to those words at all. He should have come out and said it himself. I don't know why they sent it out that way, and I don't know. To me, it just felt, when I saw it, I thought, okay, well, that's almost nothing. He put it on record for the first time ever, but there's nothing there. There's no there to me.
It's I apologize if you've been offended.
Right. He even gave himself an excuse for doing so written into it. So it would have been. That's something that when it's written down, anybody can take it any way they want to. But when you put your face on it, you can show your remorse and contrition, and he didn't do that.
I just don't think he's capable of pulling that off.
I probably would agree.
As a public speaker. Because let's face it, he doesn't speak to the public.
Yeah.
If he had that ability at one time, he lost it.
Yeah, he's gotten such bad advice from his lawyer team that it's. I can't even fault him for anything that comes on him because it's like he's gotten terrible guidance through this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he realizes it.
And I think we were so mad at the university for so long about, not allowing us to talk to him, or at least, and they've tried. I mean, they had the pool reporter thing earlier. I think that would have continued if the ticket thing didn't happen the very next freaking week.
Yeah.
So they've tried, and they've been frustrated. I mean, they had to throw him out there or get fined, 10 or 20 grand, whatever it was, for the Orange Bowl last year, the college football playoff game they went to, Josh.
Did we lose Josh?
No, I'm here. What did I miss? I feel like I missed something that led in there.
I feel like you were in another room.
No, I was honestly here. I was definitely typing something. I was checking the board for something, but I must have missed. I missed the lead in. So this makes some great airtime.
I took a little shot at you.
Oh well, all right.
I don't know what good it does moving forward. I don't know that we'll talk to him even. I would assume. I mean, if I'm OU, this is what I do. Bedlam week, get him up there on the podium during the Stoops luncheon.
They won't.
But they won't probably, yeah.
And I've said it before, but I think they would like to. I think they wish Joe could do that.
But if the case is settled, there's no reason for him not to. Even if he says something stupid, the case is settled.
It might happen. I mean, Lincoln Riley has talked about Joe Mixon like he's a captain on that team before. So if you're going to talk about somebody in that manner, it would make sense for them to be in front of the media.
To be a face of the program. Yeah.
Right. So I do know that they worry about putting him out there. They just are not sure what's going to happen. And part of that is kind of everyone around him and his own fault for not having him out there for so long. You're never quite sure what to expect.
If they go to the Fiesta Bowl, I'm trying to rethink this, Eddie. We didn't really have like a media day, did we?
Yeah, they do. They have everybody in a room.
Did we do that at the hotel or at the stadium?
It was at the hotel because I remember.
Oh, that's right. Everybody was in one room,
yeah.
And then Stoops and Saban were there. Okay, because that's when we saw.
No, it was UConn. It wasn't Saban.
No, I'm saying the Fiesta Bowl. If they go to the Fiesta Bowl, do we have media day?
Yeah.
Or not Fiesta Bowl. I mean, Sugar Bowl is what I mean.
Oh, I don't think the Sugar Bowl had a big media day.
It did have they had their
Stoops
defensive players they brought in and their offensive players, but it wasn't like the entire team. Like what was it C.J. Mosley? Was that the linebacker?
Yeah, I remember.
We saw him and we were like, man, he looks like a basketball player.
Yeah,
he played like a basketball player in that game.
Yeah, it was something like that. But I don't know what's the. Might be better asking what the Alamo Bowl media policy is.
Because they're going to lose to OSU.
Yeah.
I guarantee the Alamo Bowl does not require that every player be made available to the media.
Probably not.
They let you go back and watch other people have sex in their hotel rooms.
That's the Texas way.
Okay.
Colt McCoy way.
And then Trevon Boykin got into a bar fight.
Yeah, we might have to. We'll have to put everybody.
We'll have to be
police blotter watch.
Gee, many Christmas, Joe. You're going to go down and just stay at the San Antonio Police Department.
Oh no.
Maybe are there Alamo cops like the Riverwalk cops?
I don't know.
They have a Riverwalk jail.
FYI, you're still holding out on a story for us from your trip to West Virginia that I'm waiting on.
I don't know that Eddie's in the mood. I want to tell this story. He's pounding on his lap. Why are you pounding on your laptop?
Sorry.
You teased us with this story over the break, and now you're teasing us
again. I've retold the story several times. I'm telling you, it's just not that good of a story. It's more of had to be there kind of thing.
Yeah, I would agree.
Basically, right. I wrecked the rental car into the side of a hill to try and keep us from spinning out of control and going down the side of a mountain.
Were you on ice? Did you spin out?
Snow. It was snow covered.
Did you get the rental insurance?
Yes.
It was wet.
It didn't do anything to the car. We checked.
Did you tell the
rental
place?
No.
You turned it back in?
Never.
No.
Never.
Why would you? Okay. Heisman Trophy. Eddie, do you want to crap on this right now? Like Baker, Dede have no chance?
No, I think that they.
Charade?
I mean, I think that they do, but
do we care?
They do. Baker Mayfield definitely has a chance of getting invited. I don't think Dede Westbrook should.
I don't either. I mean, He's going to win the Biletnikoff, I would think. I mean, Josh, you get to sit at home and watch more games on Saturday. I don't know much about the Northwestern kid, especially not the Louisiana Tech kid. I know Louisiana Tech had 2 receivers that had as many stats as Dede Westbrook had, or anybody. And I think probably, I don't even know if it's really the Oklahoma bias. I guess it's the numbers, but I was surprised that James Washington wasn't a finalist.
There were several weird choices, and I think that leads into, I've been saying for a few weeks, and it's certainly not just me, but a lot of people, that he's got to be the front runner. Well, when you pit him against who you've put him against, how do you really say, there's a chance he loses this? Like, if only from the national recognition, the voters are going to look and see the numbers and think, oh, that dude's from Oklahoma. Like that's not even.
And Oklahoma's
that's
really
as much
good.
A foregone conclusion as any award out there.
Yeah,
right
it's they see Oklahoma and they say, well, Oklahoma's really good. Oh, he's the reason they're really good. Well, he's got to be the Biletnikoff winner.
Exactly. There were several guys I thought could be a problem for him if they made it into the finals, but against guys from East Carolina and Northwestern,
how does the Ross kid from Washington not make it? How does James Washington not
make
it?
Excellent. He's awesome. Yep. There were several. I think you could make a case for Mike Williams at Clemson. Had that huge game against Pittsburgh. Even in the loss, he was awesome. So there's a lot of guys you could make the case for. Not that those guys aren't good players. They absolutely are. I mean, the kid from East Carolina is, I can't remember if he already has or is just about to break Justin Hardy's record. But, I mean, he's a big-time player. He really is. But on the stage and against the kind of teams that Dede's playing, these guys aren't doing the same things.
Yeah, that 75-yard touchdown Saturday just clinched it. The entire college football world was watching that game.
It was early in the game.
Early in the game, and that was an incredible highlight reel, perfect play for him to have. And it got him to bumped him up enough where he got over 100 yards, and he had that highlight reel play and a huge win. That solidifies it to me. I would be shocked if Dede Westbrook doesn't win the Biletnikoff. And I will say, I think he actually is the better choice to campaign for the Heisman, to get him going there, just based on the fact alone that I think if Lamar Jackson bounces back and doesn't completely fall off the face of the earth, he'll probably win the Heisman, and it'll be hard for Baker to overcome the quarterback comparison there. And in a kind of a change year when people are liking Jabril Peppers and things outside of quarterback, Dede Westbrook is number 2 in a lot of ballots right now. And maybe it's almost weird for Oklahoma fans because they think about Ryan Broyles and Sterling Shepard and Mark Clayton, some of the guys that have been through and didn't end up winning a Biletnikoff or get this kind of Heisman love. But I think it's just the right year, and Westbrook's had kind of the right kind of season and run to be the guy to go to New York. And actually, to be honest, I bet they both end up going by the end of it.
Well, Baker's kind of like the Ford Taurus of college quarterbacks. Like when it first came out, the new one, you're like, oh, that's a really cool car. Now the cops have them. You see them every week. You're just like, yeah, there's another Ford Taurus. Not so cool anymore.
Well, and I think with Joe's point, there's also the storyline for Dede. Oh, he was hurt those first 3 games. That's why he didn't play all that well. Baker didn't have any excuse. He just didn't play well. So I think Dede really gets absolved from when Oklahoma wasn't winning, and then he gets healthy, and all of a sudden Oklahoma's offense is one of the best in college football. So I
you know
think
what though, Baker didn't play poorly against Ohio State. I mean, the offense lost him the game against Houston because they had every opportunity. The defense got some stops. They got that goal line. Was that a fumble recovery? I think. Yeah. And the offense just couldn't ever, like in that second half, like you never felt like the offense was going to get them back in that game. Against Ohio State, their defense just sucked so bad. The offense had no opportunity to have an impact on that game.
That's fair. I mean, let's see. What Baker had at least 1 pick in that game. Was it 2? He threw one that was
one
bad.
Was tipped. One was tipped.
He tried to force that one into Baxter downfield.
Yeah,
late. I remember that one.
He threw a jump ball.
Yeah, like it certainly. Don't get me wrong. I agree with you, Carey. He was better against Ohio State than he was Houston. But like, nobody's blaming. You know, if you want to say, okay, it was on the defense. Okay, and Baker maybe wasn't the guy we saw last year. You could make that case. Dede was just hurt, so you just get to absolve him from that completely, whether that's fair or not. As soon as he got healthy, all of a sudden Oklahoma's offense looked like a different thing.
But I mean, in terms of the Heisman, yeah, I think Baker's the only one that really has a shot. I mean, Dede's going to win the Biletnikoff. Dede is a product of Oklahoma's offense. The running game, Baker Mayfield, the offensive line. The offensive line not giving up sacks. I mean, that's been a huge thing that we really haven't talked a lot about this year. But for Dede Westbrook to have the time to make double moves downfield like he has all year, he's a product of he's a really good player, but he wouldn't be where he is without all the other weapons they have on their offense.
Yeah, it wasn't just Dede Westbrook getting healthy that sparked the offensive resurgence. It was also that offensive line gelling, because Cody Ford gets hurt against Ohio State, and then they have to kind of reshuffle that lineup around, and then that's the one that sticks, the one with Eric Wren at center. That's the one that seemed to kind of gel this group together, and ever since then they've been playing outstanding offensive line football, and it's been really the catalyst for this whole offense all year. Because they can't do the things they do. The plays where Baker has to roll out 10 yards to his left, wait for Dede Westbrook to win a deep double move on the right side of the field and then throw it deep. You can't do that unless your offensive line's playing well, and you can't do that unless your running game's forcing linebackers to stay honest on play action.
One thing I wanted to hit, I saw this on the board a lot, and people were asking me about the linebacker situation, Jordan Evans. No one happy with seeing what happened when Reuben Hunter came into the game and asking, what else can they do there? And I've been telling people all year, like when people were ripping on Jordan Evans, even after the Tech game, I was like, look, he's the best that you've got. There's nobody else that's going to step in and do any better. And people were like, bullcrap, just put somebody else. Waterboy could do better than that. And it's just, no, they don't have it. So I did ask Mike Stoops kind of what his emergency plan is there with things going on the way they are right now.
What is the emergency plan there at linebacker? Do you have to pull somebody out of red shirt?
You would have to pull somebody or, move Buzzy over to play. He's playing both positions. So
let him talk.
Would have to play both positions. That's what he's doing now. Or you'd have to – John Michael is a guy that's got limited reps there throughout the year, John Michael Terry. And, I'd hate to pull his red shirt out now. But, I think we're in pretty good shape getting Jordan back at the beginning part of next week and, have him, full go for the game.
So, emergency is John Michael Terry. So if Jordan Evans went down in the first quarter, early in the game, they might have to pull John Michael Terry's red shirt.
I think they'd still go with Reuben Hunter.
Yeah, they probably would. Unless, unless the only way I think they would pull his red shirt is if he gets hurt or can't go early, restrains the hamstring, whatever. Put in Reuben Hunter. Oklahoma State keeps taking advantage of him, but Oklahoma also keeps scoring. And if it was like a back and forth thing up at the halftime, I think they just have to pull his red shirt.
I think there's less than a 0.5% chance they would burn a red shirt.
They'd put Bolton in there first.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think. And I think that still would even take...
Which would probably be even worse. So
Hunter would still probably have to get hurt for that to happen, I think.
Oh, I think you're right, yeah.
I think that Evans would have to get hurt, then Hunter would come in, and he would either just have to play just horribly. And I don't think that'll happen. I think he'll be in his positions, which is what they'll care about. And it would take him to get injured for them to have to think about it. And I don't think they would pull Terry's red shirt even then. I think, like you said, they'd find a way to move Curtis Bolton over. I know he said you can't do it, but Capri Doucette can handle playing inside linebacker. I know he says you can't, but he should be able to do it over burning John Michael Terry's red shirt.
Yeah, but the problem is they're not practicing him there. You're basically telling the guy, okay, go out there and tackle somebody. You don't know what you're doing.
He has to know somewhat.
And somebody has
that
to
might be better than what they're doing right now on
somebody
defense.
has to make the calls. That's the position that makes the calls for the defense. That's the other problem there. It's like losing your center and just saying, we'll just put the freshman in there that's never practiced there.
If the guy can tackle it, it'll be better than anything that they've been throwing out there the last 5-6 weeks.
In fact, I think Caleb Kelly'd probably be a better choice if that's really what it gets down to. But their run defense is terrible, and West Virginia just proved that. And it's not like the thing that's weird about the West Virginia and Crawford is like Crawford. They could not have been in a better situation that their running back went down early and Crawford had to come in because it was his quickness that was the problem for the OU defense. It's almost like if you're a big back and you rely on, kind of bowling through people and breaking tackles and stuff, it's like they can handle that running back. What they can't handle is the really quick guys because they're probably because they're not that athletic, really, when it comes down to it.
I've said it before, and I've said it jokingly, but now I'm to the point where I'm almost serious. I don't understand what they do all week at practice. Do they watch film of teams and see what they're getting ready to face?
it's a horrible front. I mean, it really is. Josh, you're watching Monday Morning Idiot, but I mean, have an oboe out there, smaller guy. I mean, guy looks like a Greek god, but he's not a big guy. He's a little bit bigger than Eric Stryker was, but it's not like he is Devontae Bond. I mean, from a stout physical standpoint. And then Jordan Evans, I mean, he's bigger than he should be. I mean, he doesn't naturally carry the weight that he's carrying right now. And Emmanuel Beal, he's too small too. Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody on that defense is too small. And then Austin Roberts and DJ Ward have been fine, but you're asking two guys that really look like defensive ends to be your run stoppers. I mean, other than Jordan Wade, there's nobody out there that really belongs on that field to stop the run. Josh, am I wrong?
No, you're not. And, really, if you look at it from a true, especially the way OU's playing this 2-gap 3-4, Jordan Wade's a defensive end. Like, with his body type and the way he looks, those guys, like you sent, not to get back into that, but you send him to Alabama, he's going to line up at defensive end because he's a big, long kid. He's not like like Matt Romar. Like, Matt Romar is a bowling ball of a human
he's a
being.
nose tackle.
Yeah, he's an inside guy. Wade's got that length, but he's still 300-plus pounds. Like, in that system, you're talking about guys that are 280 minimum. And that's just not what OU has right now. Now, with Gallimore and some of that, you're moving in the right direction, but that's just not been the case. And, I had somebody say on the board this week, is Emmanuel Beal, is he regressing? No, he's not regressing. People are figuring out who he is. Like, I know that OU fans follow recruiting, and they knew that Emmanuel Beal was 210 pounds the second he hit the field. Other schools don't know that. They're just going to go out and execute their game plan, and they'll figure out what they can. But now that teams have weeks and weeks of film to see, they see that Emmanuel Beal is not a big guy, and if we run directly at him, he's going to have problems.
Well, and I mean, you just saw it with West Virginia. Everything collapses. You miss one fit in the run game with that defense that they're playing, it's over. And that happened 5 or 6 times against West Virginia.
My question is help on the way? Because it feels almost like it is, right? I mean, you said Neville Gallimore's there, Devontae Lampkin's there, Bledsoe is suspended because of the PEDs, but he's there. The linebacking class that they have in 2017 is great. So it feels like they're on the cusp of getting the right guys in, but then you also wonder, why did it take so long? Why are you running this defense now where you have to be playing these guys out of position? So I think the interesting question for Oklahoma will become, how do you hang on to this kind of system and to this coaching, this defensive coordinator, and let these other guys come in and see what happens, or do you cut and bail and let somebody else take control?
Josh, I'll let you take that. Maybe we lost Josh.
You keep dropping to me right as I lose focus on something. I'm like, they're not going to want me for a second because I talk too much as it is. I've literally made a conscious effort to not dive in too much because all my points take way too long. So they're not going to want to talk to me, and then of course you come to me. So that's my fault.
It's also my fault because the same thing happens to me if I start talking for too long. I should stop now and just let Josh go.
You two do like to talk.
I love the sound of my own voice.
I wish Eddie liked to talk more today.
So is like Eddie chewing the microphone? Like, I feel like Eddie's just like red-faced and
he's just staring a hole through his laptop right now.
Just ready.
For what?
Everything.
Obviously not this show.
Is this what we get when the Cubs win a title? Like, I thought Eddie would be permanently happy.
Checked out.
See, Eddie is like Josh and I talk about this all the time. Like, this is very disconcerting for me because Eddie works harder than anyone I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, I'm always wondering, like, I mean, he drinks so much Red Bull, but I'm always wondering, like, does Eddie ever crash? Does Eddie ever like get burnt out? Like, I'm seeing it happen for the first time.
Maybe
right
I
now.
am. Maybe I'm burnt out.
This is jarring to see.
It really is.
Eddie's never down.
I got stuff. I got stuff going through the mind.
Did you just
trying to get all my
break up
stuff.
with a girlfriend that we don't know, or get a divorce and get married or something?
No.
Did you lose a child or
no?
Are you having a child?
God, no.
Okay. See, that was where I really thought we could maybe have hit a home run.
So it's not a personal issue.
No.
It's just a burnout issue.
He's just sick of us.
I will admit that West Virginia trip was, man, it was bad. It was rough.
It was long or short. It was short but long.
But we never slept.
Yeah.
I slept an hour. You didn't sleep at all.
I slept on the plane.
I had to talk to a guy the whole time.
Yeah, that was awful.
That's the worst.
That's the worst.
He was a nice guy.
I make it pretty known that I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to know you.
Usually I do, but he was another big guy. And so we were like crammed in there like sardines.
There is kind of like a big guy kinship when you see another big guy.
It's like our flesh was pressed up against each other, and we just didn't care because we knew there was nothing we could do about it.
I have no kinship with the big guy. You know why I don't have a kinship? Because you shouldn't be sitting next to me in the first place, dude. Get the hell on. Like, move farther down the rows. Like, I was here early. You should have booked your flight early. That's your problem.
So Josh is fat shaming this week.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Hey, I'm a fat guy. I can fat shame. That's okay. Like, that's not a big deal. So...
Although
I need you to move on.
In our group, you're like the skinny girl of the group, though. for the Soonerscoop.com crew.
He picked us specifically to make himself look better, like all girls do. They have their packs that they run in. They have to be the best looking one.
Oh,
it all makes sense now.
But Joe, you have the best hair, and I'm still envious of that. So whatever.
Okay, we have one more thing I want to talk about before we get out of here. Do we want to hit any recruiting, Josh? Is there anything pressing that you wanted to get to this week?
Nothing huge. I mean, I think just as a small note, obviously, 2018 Rivals 100 running back TJ Pledger announced he's going to visit for Bedlam. That's a huge deal. Being a kid from California, that's a lot of obviously cash to dish out. So I think it's a good indication of his interest. I spoke to him last night, actually, and he seems really interested. I think him and Coach Boulware have developed a good relationship. So I think that could be interesting because he does have a friendship with Cameron Rising, Oklahoma's quarterback commitment. So I think, like I said, I think it's still a lot of work to do to pull an elite guy out of Los Angeles away from USC. But I think it's really interesting that he's making this trip, and really it's the only trip he has set up right now.
In terms of this week for coaches, have you gotten any kind of a signal in terms of going? I know Bob was really concerned with recruiting this week, with having the off week, but Lincoln Riley was going on about midterm guys. Like, he was really upset about the recruiting calendar right now, the way it's working out for them. I don't know if that means anything to you, Josh.
I think I guess, did he expand on like what it was that had him upset? I'd be interested.
He was talking about the midterm rollies and how that's really kind of screwing them on that. Does that make any sense to you?
Do you mean like who they could go
being
see?
Being able to go see him and things like that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because a lot of their midterm guys have already, either out of playoffs or whatever, so they don't really have the football activity. Like Chris Robinson got knocked out the week I was there, as an example. Trey Sermon's already done. So there's a lot of guys that they can't go watch a game and kind of continue to build that, or not build, but just maintain that relationship. That would be my thought of what he's talking about there. But yeah, it's really interesting because one of the guys that is a midterm guy is one of the guys that I think we're all counting on to be part of this class. That's Adrian Ely, and he's, to my knowledge, not taking an official visit this weekend either, which leaves him like 3 visit weekends, and he's got 4 available. So I can't tell if that's a good sign for OU. Or is he waiting on LSU to figure its situation out? There's a lot at play with him. I think he's really interesting to watch over the next few weeks.
Let me ask you, it was a cool video, but I said this afterwards. We should probably try and keep track of guys that commit to schools after they've just been beaten in a big game. I'm talking about Greg Rogers.
Yep.
What do you think happened there with him?
I think he was a kid, and I really think his idea was always to go to USC. I think he liked the LA area. I think that was what worked out, and I think that really opened the door for UCLA. Now, my impression would probably be that USC cooled on him a little bit, and that kind of opened the door to, well, I could still go to Los Angeles. I can still play in the Pac-12. I'll just go to UCLA. And he clearly developed a good relationship with Jalen Phillips. They're, kind of borderline 4 or 5 star defensive end commitment. That's a big time guy.
That kid's good.
And I think they got him convinced, you two together, you're going to change everything. But yeah, I mean, it's another one of those things, kind of like we talked about a few weeks ago with Jalen Reagor. If he had picked Colorado, I get it. I understand that. That's a team that seems to be moving in the right direction. Beautiful campus, lot to provide. You understand it all. UCLA's another 500 year away from looking for a new coaching staff. So it's a gamble. Like I said, I mean, I get that he likes LA, UCLA, beautiful campus, all those kind of things, but that's a pretty big risk that sometimes I wonder if kids are thinking about the whole picture rather than, I just really like this one thing and I'm centered on that.
If you're picking UCLA right now, you don't care about yourself. You don't care about
Eddie's
football.
a huge Jim Mora Jr. fan.
Eddie and I are on the same page.
He's almost as bad as Mark Helfrich.
At ruining a program?
Yeah.
Yeah. Helfrich doesn't seem like the scumbag that Mora might be.
Yeah, that's probably true.
But they're both inept at coaching.
Both guys, both idiots, both should be hit in the face.
There's Eddie. Oh, there's hope.
I really think
lawyers.
I really, really think Eddie would be a great Key and Peele, like the speaking for Bob Stoops, being his inner voice, just standing next to him. I really want that to happen one day. Eddie's so good at that.
Could just do like Eddie video commentary during a press conference.
Oh, that'd be great.
Just be a big middle finger. That's all it is, basically.
Telling the overlappers to stop laughing.
Oh, God. They wouldn't be allowed in my press conference. Unless...
Do you ever laugh at anything Bob says?
I laugh at a lot of stuff he says.
But it's just the over-laughing. It's
just so bad.
Was Old Man Josh there?
I don't know what's worse, that or Burger King.
Old man overlapper. What now? What?
What?
That or Burger King?
Yeah, I don't know what's worse.
Overlappers or Burger King?
Yeah. It's ironic.
There's no way I'm getting those pancakes or those chicken nuggets for $10.49 for 10. That's not chicken.
Both awful things.
At some point, it costs too little.
Josh knows what I'm saying.
I agree. It costs too
Josh
little.
from Burger King.
It's
Josh got
scary. It's scary that I'm paying $1.50 for 10 pieces of chicken. Like that's too little. Like you're undercutting you're undercutting trust, basically.
Don't make me question if this is actually chicken, please.
You're eating pigeons. You're pretty much eating pigeons.
Chicken of the sea or something else. All right, there was one thing I wanted to hit on before we get out of here, and I'm just completely baffled at what that was now. So
I can hit you with a stat while you wait.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, in the last 4 games, Baker Mayfield has targeted Geno Lewis on 3rd down 5 times. He is 5 for 5 for 92 yards and 5 first downs on those attempts. So if you didn't know, Geno Lewis is good on 3rd downs.
Okay, I know what it was now.
There you go.
Thank you for your stat.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for.
So Baker Mayfield told us this after practice on Monday.
Y'all gonna grow out your Fu Manchus again?
It's coming back. I might have to draw with eye black on some of the younger QBs because they cannot grow the mustaches, but they will be on in full force.
Have you ever thought about growing out a mullet?
No, I have not. Actually, a little bit, but no. I'm just going to say that Cody Thomas and Trevor Knight are both going to be in attendance with Fu Manchu mustaches for Big 12.
She's not traded.
All right, I have to stop it there because hold on a minute. Trevor Knight, Texas A&M quarterback, is going to shave himself into a Fu Manchu and be at Bedlam this weekend.
If he does that, he shouldn't be allowed back on the College Station campus.
That's weird. And he's probably going to be on the field because Connor, his brother, twin brother, is going to be honored on Senior Day. Why don't they just give him a Don Key Award while he's here?
They might.
Can you imagine that? The Don Key Award winner is Trevor Knight.
Texas A&M starting quarterback Trevor Knight.
He'd probably drop it.
He's not a receiver. It might hurt him, when they give it to him. He might injure himself.
How would it be if Geno Lewis got hurt and went back to Penn State for their senior day festivities? Would people in Norman be upset about that?
They would never really look at him like an OU guy after that.
Well, that's true.
But do they really anyway? Like, do you feel like Justin Brown's looked at the same
I don't. You're
as
right.
somebody else?
You're right.
It may be different though if you're a quarterback. Because if you're a quarterback, you've been a face of Texas A&M. They were what? They were in the college football playoff.
They were
top
number
4.
4 when he got hurt.
Yeah. So, that's Eddie snickering, by the way.
I was gonna say,
That's just typical Texas A&M. Just typical.
Who do they have this? They got LSU. Oh, they're going to up outside of the top 25.
They're so bad right now.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I mean, the second game that he's been to more games at OU lately than he has at Texas A&M.
Would you rather be in Norman or College Station?
I wonder if they'll let Cody Thomas on the sideline. I'm sure they would.
He's on the sidelines a couple weeks ago.
Oh, he was?
Mhm.
Okay. So that'll be interesting.
It's the off season.
All right. Really, that's going to do it for this podcast. It's, it's disconcerting. Eddie's burnout.
Can we? Hey, hang on. Can we end on a positive note here? Just
I don't think so.
positive note.
We tried to start on a positive note. That didn't
Joe's Norman North Timberwolves are in the state finals. Like, I think we got to let Joe have his little moment here. That way, maybe we can salvage some happiness heading into tomorrow's Thanksgiving.
I'm not falling for this. You're trying to get me on record bragging about this so that you can play it back. They're playing Union, and it's hard to beat Tulsa Union twice in 1 year. I mean, it was teams on the west side.
You should just tell them not to go. Don't suffer the embarrassment of possibly losing.
Yeah, they won the semifinal, so it'll be good going into next year.
It'll be really good for Southside Oklahoma City recruiting next year.
That's different. North could take Alabama, so I'm not. That's the different. And North's going to win. They're going to beat Union.
Joe will show up at the state championship game with a "We Want Bama" sign.
Yes, I will. Joe Butner, by the way, on Twitter said that, and that was great. Norman North does want Bama. I will be there with "We Want Bama" sign, and I lied. I am overconfident. We are going to win the state title. Norman North's bringing it home to the west side.
He has a Norman North baseball shirt on right now.
I wore it today to support the boys. So, T-Wolves.
Union by more than 10.
We need. What's
CJ Moore 700 yards total offense.
We're gonna have a first podcast bet.
I was like, can we do friendly wagers? Will the OSSSA get mad at us if we do anything like that?
You have a credential, by the way. You cannot be wearing Norman North stuff to the game unless you're going in the stands.
Oh, I don't. I believe for the first North Union game, I just wore a green flannel.
Now, look, I think Eddie and I are going. Are we going, Eddie?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can go and hang out in the stands if you want.
And then, but I have to be in the stands if I wear any Norman North garb or paint myself
green.
Yes,
don't flash that credential unless.
Right, okay.
You're not wearing green or Norman North stuff. Just pay your $5.
All right. And I'll go sit with the students. I'll go be right in the middle of it.
Is your wife not from Norman North?
She is, yeah. She was a year older than me. We met in high school.
Are you going with, like, former classmates and stuff?
You know what? We haven't even really talked about it yet. We're pretty late to the scene anyway. We're pretty just impulsive. So I bet a couple of my guys will go. I bet we'll make a trip of it.
Eddie, do you really think Union will win by 10?
I think they will win.
It's gonna be tough when North scores 60.
What did you say, Joe?
So that's gonna be tough when North scores 60.
I think they'll win.
Eddie's just being spiteful now.
I mean, if Adrian Wilson catches the ball, they win the first game.
Did you support his Cubs at all? Were you supportive?
Well, here's the deal.
And now he's doing this to you?
Well, I was actually going to root for the Indians outwardly because I think it's kind of more fun when Cubs fans are miserable. I think I like the way that baseball works that way. But the way Eddie, how personal it was for him, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do that to him. So, this stings a little bit since I supported the Cubs by not talking about how much I was rooting for the Indians.
I don't care. They lost. Indians lost.
I don't even want to. You can't get in a friendly rivalry with Eddie because you're gonna lose. I feel like his whole life has been practiced to be good at beating you at banter. Have you tried to talk to him on Twitter?
You know who can't talk to me on Twitter? The Tulsa football program.
He's been banned by Tulsa football. You didn't hear this, Josh?
I did, but it's still fantastic. Oh, that's so
You still
great.
blocked right now? Have you checked during the podcast?
Oh, yeah, I'm still blocked. That's fine.
Not a Tulsa football blog. The official University of Tulsa.
Maybe we should check and see if Joe Mixon's unblocked me.
I don't know.
Now that he's apparently apologizing.
You might be blocked by the Tulsa football program.
What I liked, Eddie, is I was involved in that, was completely on your side, but clearly I didn't cross some invisible line that they had, because I think it was the not worth worrying about was probably, or something along those lines that you said, was the bridge too far for them. But I kind of kept going back and checking. I was like, surely they're going to get around to me. But no, they were fine with me.
The softest program in the country is Tulsa. I'm the biggest Oral Roberts supporter that you can find.
Philip Montgomery pushed the button to block you.
He might have.
He didn't. It was some intern.
That would be hilarious.
I mean, they made
It
T-shirts.
was some intern.
They made T-shirts the next week that said "Us versus everybody."
Oh, well.
Eddie, how did they spell it?
Yeah, but say ER.
ERR
B-O-D-Y.
apostrophe.
Is it a coincidence they started with ER? Eddie Radosevich?
I don't
saw
think so.
you tweet that exact spelling the other day and did not put out that it was you were throwing shade. Like, I had no idea, but now I see what you did.
They're just it's fine. I mean,
That's great.
I'm sorry that I upset all 25 fans of the Tulsa football program. And basically, that's what it was. I upset 2 people that are outspoken about Tulsa football on Twitter. It's all right. Hey, I'll just be glad. I told Carey the other night, I'm just going to be glad that we're going to go up to Tulsa Stadium for the, is it Skelly Stadium or Chapman Stadium for the 6A final. There'll be more fans for that game than Tulsa gets all year, so that's fine.
Ladies and gentlemen, it took an hour and 10 minutes for Eddie Radosevich to wake up. Now that he's awake, he's spitting fire as usual.
Well, Tulsa that's why they're little brother in this state.
I feel like Eddie should get his own podcast and call it like Wokelahoma or something. Or Stay Wokelahoma.
I tried to point out some a plane the other night with chemtrails coming out, and Carey wasn't having any of it.
I saw it, and I mean, what do you want me to say?
Yeah, that's chemtrails. Government. Next week we can talk about
Eddie Radosevich, truther, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, big truther. Stevie Wonder can see.
I've heard this one before, yeah.
Is that true? Is that a real theory?
There are YouTube videos.
No, that's 100%. The other one, I mean, we don't want to talk about 9/11, but
no, we don't.
Thanksgiving podcast.
Trying to think of other ones.
You want to talk about the wiping out of Native Americans or anything like that while we're trying to have a nice holiday?
It's not a holiday; it's a meal.
Although, have you ever talked? Have you ever talked at Thanksgiving? This is kind of how Thanksgiving conversations go. We're just getting people prepared.
That's true. Yeah, this is like your pregame meal, basically.
Prepare for the in-laws with the Unofficial 40.
All right, I want to say this as we're leaving. We appreciate all you guys listening. We hope that all of our listeners, all of our subscribers, have a fantastic Thanksgiving. Hope you get to spend some time with family. Eddie's already taking off his headphones because he's done with this crap. He's got to go do a radio show, I guess. So we want to thank you guys for listening. Go check us out on iTunes. Give us a rating. Eddie's just leaving. He got a phone call, so he's just leaving. Should we listen in? Man, Josh, this is the first day Eddie's ever mailed it in. It's took like 6 years, but it finally happened.
It makes me feel better about myself. I don't feel quite so awful about the human being I am.
Eddie's so good. I mean, he really is on all the time. That this is it's really startling.
All right, well, that's going to do it. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving. Thanks from Josh, who is back in his studio, for Joe Duvall, and for Eddie Radosevich, who couldn't give 2 Fs about anything right now. I'm Carey Murdoch, and we'll see you guys next time on the Unofficial 40.